continuing my survey of the various filters available in Director 11 to add to vector points here, or color gradient points, and then change the color to get kind of a compound gradient effect going. Let's zoom in on that and see if we can see that gradient a little bit better. Use the bevel filter to add a bevel effect to a variety of sprites. A bevel effect gives sprites a three-dimensional look. This is probably one of the more common filters used in many graphics programs. And it's done to add kind of a three-dimensional look to a flat object. Let's bring this back to 100% so you can see that on the stage. But there's a classic bevel. The placement of the bevel can be changed, inner, outer, or full, as well as, again, the knockout option. Kind of an interesting effect there. Let's go ahead and remove this filter and now move on to the glow filter. The glow filter lets you apply a color all around the edges of a sprite, and to add a glow effect to various sprites you can set the style of the glow in several ways, again including inner, outer, and knockout mode. Let's go ahead and apply a glow filter. Glow filters are oftentimes used in button rollovers. Give a glow effect when you roll over the button sprite. There's an inner glow and knockout option, as well as the color. Colored by default is red, but doesn't have to be. As well as a blur X and blur Y settings. And again, by exaggerating those numbers, sometimes you can get a better idea of what that parameter will be doing to change the filter. Let's temporarily disable the glow filter. Now move on to the drop shadow filter. Use the drop shadow filter to add a drop shadow to a variety of sprites. This is again a very common filter found in many graphics programs. Here you have strength settings, color, distance. That's going to be the throw of the shadow. Notice if I go 56, really displaces that shadow quite a ways. You can also hide the object and just have the drop shadow. You can do an inner shadow. Kind of interesting with that large distance setting there, as well as set your blur in the X and the Y dimensions. Sometimes it's easier if you've really made a mess of the settings there just to delete the filter and add it back again with the default settings. This setting probably looks a bit better than what I had before. And lastly, there's the blur filter. The blur filter softens the edges and details of sprites. Applying a blur to a sprite can make it appear as if it's behind other sprites. Notice that this one here looks kind of blurry, as if the camera lens is out of focus. Also, it can make the sprite appear to be in motion. So there you have a review of the various filters that are available with Director 11. Now, bitmaps are only one of two main types of graphics used with Adobe Director. The other one is vector shapes. So let me now move on to the next movie and introduce you to creating vector shapes in Director 11 using the Director Vector Shape window.